Out here in Carroll County. We're glad to have you all with us here at the park and also on those of you who are watching online. And we're going to kick off this morning's Speak Out with a sing-along. We're going to be singing Everybody's Got a Right to Live. So it starts out like this. If you know it, please sing along. Everybody's got a right to live. Can you sing that with me? Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. We say poverty no more. Give justice to the poor. Everybody's got a right to live. Good, you got it. Second verse. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. We say, listen to our call. Give health to one and all. Everybody's got a right to live. Now this time it's joy. Everybody's got a right to joy. Everybody's got a right to joy. We say our votes are our demands. Injustice will not stand. Everybody's got a right to joy. And we're going to repeat the first verse one more time. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. We say poverty no more. Give justice to the poor. Everybody's got a right to live. All right. And now I want to welcome up Shirley to get us started. Woo!
Okay. Hello, my name is Shirley, and I'm a leader with United Workers. Yay! We are a multi-racial, statewide human rights organization led by the poor and dispossessed in Maryland, helping to build a movement to end poverty. Poverty is killing us in one of the richest states, in the richest country in the world. Shame, shame, shame. Shame. The denial of our basic rights to health care, housing, food, living wages is causing unnecessary death and illness. That is why we, United Workers, launched our Right to Health campaign to demand that everybody has a right to live. We are here today at Landon Burns Park in Westminster, Maryland, to speak up and speak out. We chose this place because it is next to the Farm Museum in Westminster, which at one time was the almshouse for the poor and dispossessed. Also in this park is a potter's field, the field where people from the almshouse were buried because they were poor. As fellow Marylander and fierce abolitionist Frederick Douglass once said, find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. We will not quietly submit.
Right on.
We will not suffer silently. And we will not suffer alone.
That's right.
No way.
We are coming together across Maryland and across this country with other poor and working class people to tell the truth about our lives, because we know that movements begin with the telling of untold stories. We know that we are not alone here in Carroll County. In Baltimore, Cumberland, and Westminster, United Workers is staging Right to Health Speakouts as part of the National Nonviolent Medicaid Army Week of Action. I would like to now have Leo read a national statement about the Week of Action taking place.
This week, we take action together as a nonviolent Medicaid army in 12 states across the South, Midwest, Appalachia, the Northeast, to declare Medicaid cuts equals death. We unite to say that the denial of health care is policy violence, and so is cutting 25 million people off of Medicaid in every state and county in the United States. Health care is a human right.
That's right.
Yes.
The Poor People's Campaign has shown that poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in the U.S., and 800 people die every day in the richest country that's ever existed in the history of the world.
Shame.
The Commonwealth Fund's newest study shows that our healthcare system is failing, and we are dying as a result of the system that puts profit over our lives. We lift up in mourning and honor the names of those we've lost. Roxy Hall Williamson, Miss Bernadine Kimball, Earl Lind, Tyrone Nelson Murdoch, Brandon Colabello, and so many others. We cry justice and challenge the false narrative that this Medicaid purge is going back to normal, or that the millions who have been and will be cut can get health care through their employer or through the ACA. This is a public relations stunt. What is true is that millions will suffer without health care altogether, or that the crushing weight of copays, deductibles, denial of care, and medical debt. What will happen is the increasing homelessness, addiction, and imprisonment of the working class. But there's hope. We are uniting across all lines of division, getting into step, and asserting our political independence. We won't be silent anymore. Thank you for being here today.
Woo! Woo!
Thank you, Leo. Now we're going to have a statement on the right to health realities in Maryland, read by Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria.
Hey, Maria.
Over the past decade, poverty has become one of the top 4 leading causes of death in our country. From a Washington Post investigation about declining life expectancy in the United States, quote, America is increasingly a country of haves and have-nots, measured not just by bank accounts and property values, but also by our vital signs and grave markers. Dying prematurely has become the most telling measure of the nation's growing inequality. The Post also found that while opioids and gun violence have grabbed the public's attention by stealing hundreds of thousands of lives, chronic diseases have quietly become the greatest threat, killing far more people between the ages of 35 and 64 every year. These findings point to class warfare, and the poor are dying from it. We live under an unrelenting system that both fuels and profits from poverty. Instead of addressing the issue, politicians and corporations fight every inch of the way to keep this corporate killing system going. Nearly 40% of Marylanders do not earn enough to make ends meet. Whether employed or trying to make it on a fixed income, we have to make heart-wrenching decisions. Do we pay rent or feed the children? Make the car payment or buy school clothes? Keep on the lights or get our prescriptions filled? We constantly face denial of the basic necessities of food, health care, affordable housing, and living wages. Food prices have increased 20% over the past 4 years due to supply chain issues and corporate greed. At the same time, many people's food stamps were cut. Some of our own members had theirs cut to as low as $50 a month. And 50% of people who are food insecure don't even qualify for food stamps. At the Public policy perpetuates hunger and malnutrition. Several members were hit with a diagnosis of hypoglycemic seizures as a result of reducing meals to once a day and poor quality food. Another was diagnosed with stress seizures when the bills started piling up and everything seemed to go into free fall. Political leaders have sided with corporations that put profits above our health and well-being. All across the country, we have experienced Medicaid cuts, ending COVID-era policies that worked to keep people from losing this important life-saving health insurance. In Maryland, over 100,000 people have lost their Medicaid coverage, largely the result of bureaucratic error. We know that having health insurance is not the same as getting the care we need. Our members are denied care every day. Medicaid private insurers deny essential care, including cancer screenings and prescription meds to treat autoimmune diseases such as lupus. Emergency times are some of the worst in the United States. We wait as many as 12 to 16 hours, sometimes in hospital emergency rooms, only to be told they can't treat us for emergency, ranging from bicycle accidents to needed care for an at-risk pregnancy. Many of us are forced to go without care or travel hours, even across state lines, at great expense to get the care we need. 41% of Americans delayed care, whether we had insurance or not, because of cost. When we are denied care, this has resulted in an increased likelihood of developing chronic illnesses and preventable deaths. Chronic pain from the toll of a lifetime of physical demanding work has compromised our mobility and done damage to our quality of life. We also experienced hospitals discharging us to the streets when we were still sick. We have heard of hospitals sending homeless people to other hospitals only to discharge them in places they do not know and have no support, including right here in Carroll. We have asked doctors to prescribe bed rest so that when we return to shelters, we are not forced out when we need to recover from illnesses and even surgery. Doctors have denied this simple request. And when doctors do provide us with written notice that calls on shelter staff to allow for our care, it can be ignored. In Carroll County, a pregnant mother was evicted along with her elementary-aged children. Her doctor had written a letter explaining that she had an at-risk pregnancy and needed bed rest. The shelter refused to comply and evicted the family without notice.
Shame.
Shame.
Shelters were unable to provide adequate safety from harm during this past summer's record heat wave. One homeless woman with exposed wounds suffered second-degree burns. Many of us experience what amounts to state-sanctioned torture, the torture of sleep deprivation, as police routinely wake us up in our cars, on benches, and in encampments and parks. We are not permitted to sleep or rest our bodies. Lack of sleep is one of the most common health consequences of homelessness and poverty and can lead to increased stress, depression, anxiety, and fatigue. Chronic sleep deprivation can speed up the onset and severity of diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and memory loss. When we do manage to get housing, it is often at a cost too high that puts us at the risk of being homeless once again. According to the U.S. Census recent report, nearly half of all residents are at risk of eviction, 21 million of us. Over 18 million homeowners were also at risk of foreclosure because of high mortgage and insurance costs. Political leaders in Allegheny County did not listen to constituents who needed relief from high rents. They were the only county in Maryland to reject the last round of eviction prevention funding. And when funding dried up across the state last year, eviction rates climbed back up. On the eastern shores of Wacomico County, evictions are back to pre-pandemic levels. And across the state in Washington County, in the city of Hagerstown, they reported homelessness has risen by 50%. Political leadership throughout Maryland has failed to hold accountable corporations for its increasing reliances on low-wage, anti-union practices and automation. Our wages do not keep up with the rising costs of basic needs. We work service jobs in healthcare, retail, restaurants, and public education, and jobs that were once public but have been privatized. Many of us have to deal with the stress of how we support our families and communities without knowing from week to week what our schedules will be or how many hours of work we will get. We get points off when we call in sick or have to take a loved one to a doctor. These simple acts of caring for ourselves and our families can get us fired. And consistently, across these sectors, we are underpaid. From restaurant workers to nursing assistants to cashiers, we don't earn enough to make ends meet. Many of us have had to take on 2 jobs to get by. This means even less time for our families, school activities, church, and participating in civic activities, leading to more social isolation, which the U.S. Surgeon General says is at epidemic levels. The Surgeon General reports that time with family is down. Time with a spouse or loved one is down 14 hours a month. With friends is down 20 hours. Social isolation has dramatic consequences. Increased risk of premature death, 50% increased risk of dementia, increased risk of heart disease and stroke. We are more likely to suffer depression, anxiety, and greater risk of suicide when we are isolated. Right now, we are facing public policies at the local, state, and federal level that are working against us, to divide us, to disorganize us. Recently, the Supreme Court ruled that it is legal to fine and jail people for being homeless.
Shame.
Shame. In Cumberland, the city council is debating a law that the mayor and police chief are behind that would make it illegal to eat food in a prominent city park.
Shame.
Just to go and have a picnic there. In Baltimore, the Catholic Church is closing down dozens of churches that are in our communities, ones that provide food pantry and Head Start education. The powers to be want us to disappear. But how can the 140 million poor and dispossessed in this country, the nearly 40% in Maryland, just go away? We won't go away. We demand to be heard, we demand to be seen, and we demand our right to health and to be free from poverty.
Thank you, Maria. Wow, that's a lot to take in. What a load of stuff, man. So, at this point, we're going to be hearing some testimonies from some of our members, and I want to teach you a simple little refrain, just a few lines that we're going to be singing in between some of the testimony statements. So, here's how it goes. It's just a short little thing. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Can you sing that with me? Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Good job. So put that in your back pocket, and here comes Shirley to take us on to the next part.
So Maria made a powerful statement in the end of her talk, is that the powers that be want us to disappear. But we're not going to disappear. And what we feel is so important is that the untold stories, telling those stories, is the one way that we're going to make the invisible visible. So I'd like to invite some of our members that are going to be telling their stories. And we're going to hear from Brandy first.
Yay!
My name is Brandy. story, but it's gonna be hard. Just so everybody knows.
With you. Come on, Brandy. We're
With you.
A few years ago, my biggest struggle was being a mom and a guardian to 8 children. I also being a caregiver to my seriously ill husband. We were struggling to make ends meet. We became homeless and were forced to live in a hotel. Some of our children have special needs, including ADHD, autism, and anxiety. I had to take it day by day, figure out how to pay for 2 rooms. I felt worried, anxious, and overwhelmed, but I tried to keep a smile on my face for my children. It got so bad one weekend that we had to go to a family member's home in order to keep a roof over our heads. We couldn't get a room because of an event that was happening in the area, and we had to find someplace else to stay. I've always put the kids' needs first. I didn't get medical care I needed for myself in order to save money. Plenty of times I would go to the store, fix a meal, and serve everyone else and go without. For a whole 1 year, none of the kids had birthday parties or anything. The children got Christmas gifts through their school, but they weren't fulfilled with their wishes. It was a sad holiday. It was very upsetting when I heard about a post on social media criticizing those people living at the Boston Inn, accusing residents of being drug addicts. Thankfully, someone spoke up for me as a mom who had her kids at the bus stop every morning and every day, or every evening. The truth was that all these struggles have had an impact on my mental health. I felt like being a mom was the only thing I was good at. Especially when my husband passed. And I was on my own. As a stay-at-home mom, it's been hard to find work that fits my schedule. After a long gap without working, I didn't have any experience and references to get a good job. This means that it was hard to find a decent place for us to live without high credit score, not to mention scary deposit. It felt like agencies that were supposed to help us wanted me to fail. Since then, we have managed to find a place to live, but I still struggle to find a job and make ends meet. And I originally joined United Workers to earn volunteer service hours, but I found that I like the people, everybody. I love working with you guys. Like people, and I'm learning about how to fight poverty. This work makes me feel more important and more confident. I will always be a mom, but now I can also have a voice in my community. I believe that we need to get enough people together to be able to protest, get more resources and better transportation, and more access to services. If Maryland guaranteed the right to health, my life would be less stressful. We would all be able to live longer, and we could have more of a normal life.
Let's see, Kelly, are we chanting?
We're going to let Tammy go first.
Oh, okay. All right. So our next member who's going to speak is Tammy. Tammy's going to stay here, and she's asked me to read it for her. While I was in prison, I was separated from my family for 6 years, from 2000 to 2006. When I went into prison, my 3 children were 7, 10, and 12 years old. They had to travel from Carroll County to visit me in Patuxent County. In Patuxent and Jessup. They were living with different family members, so they were separated from each other too. Visits were very hard for all of us. The children wanted to stay with me, but they couldn't. It caused a lot of trauma for all of us. It had a big impact on them in school. They were pushed through or dropped out, and some still struggled because of that today. Their visits were very hard on my mental health. I would break down all of the time, especially after a visit. Sometimes I told my husband not to bring the kids because it was so painful afterwards. I remember once when the prison had a cookout and activities for families. My kids were confused and upset by the things they saw and didn't want to visit me anymore. When I was released, they were 13, 16, and 18 years old. That was 18 years ago, and it still has impact on my life and my family's life today. I want to get my own home, but it is hard with my record. I cannot get a housing voucher. It is also hard to get a good paying job with my record. I am always judged for what happened in the past. I don't want to depend on someone else all of the time. Since I was released, I've lived with my mother, then found other roommates. I still can't afford my own place. This is still affecting my health too. When I think about the past, it makes me cry. I feel bad that I couldn't care for my children then, and I still struggle to support them now. I can be a parent for them, but I still can't focus on what they really need. It's painful to see them struggling, and I feel hurt and shame. I am not working with a therapist now, but I did for several years. She said that I was coping very well and told me that I could reach out to her if I needed help. I believe that most people, including the government and private services, expect the poor to fix their own problems, but the system holds them down. It is set up to make us fail. Our past mistakes are held against us for the rest of our lives, making it hard to get a fresh start. I wanted to tell my story after talking with my daughter, Brandy. She encouraged me to get it off my chest because holding all of this inside makes me shut down and not talk to people. Maybe by telling my story, I can get some relief and it may help other people too.
Thank you.
Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore.
Is Leo? Is Leo coming up?
A few months ago, my brother was diagnosed with cancer of the upper stomach. And now, insurance companies are perfectly capable of covering this treatment, but they just choose not to do so. Why? I cannot tell you. So it has put the responsibility on the rest of my family who cannot afford it through having either no income or having a very measly fixed income and having just recently lost their Medicaid, so that is another payment that is coming through Medicaid while on disability. And it is horrendous that the government is able to do that. But having to rely on your family who cannot afford these cancer treatments, having to postpone any future cancer treatments until those bills are paid, essentially leaving it up to the poor to scramble and work together in order to save your life when they are perfectly capable of preventing your death before this progresses anymore.
Yes.
It is completely insane. And there is no reason why this should be happening in a country that likes to hold itself at this nationalistic type of standard, priding itself on having the best everything, when it continues to prove it's not good at anything at all. We're going to die before we figure any of this out, and I think that's exactly the plan here. Because the longer that I am trying to advocate for this, the more I realize this is just eugenics. And we can only hope that something will change. I don't have anything more to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. And next we have a poem that's been written by one of our members, and Laura is going to come up and read it. The poem is written by Melissa.
And the poem's called What Do You Do? What do you do when your health is failing, when your medical insurance is cut? What do you do when you can't afford food, when you can't afford medicine? What do you do when doctors stop listening, when tests aren't enough? What do you do when bills can't be paid, when costs go up but income stays down? What do you do when a month's pet food is cheaper than a month's human food, when doctors can't find the answers? What do you do when you have more questions than answers, when your food budget shrinks but you still need food? What do you do when you can't afford rent, when you can't find clean water? What do you do when rent goes up but income stays the same, when utilities get shut off? What do you do when vet bills are cheaper than doctor bills, when being poor costs too much?
Woo!
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. And now Mama Ann, another of our members, has a poem she'd like to read, one that she wrote.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
We
Hello.
have a beautiful place to be and a beautiful day, and we have the freedom to speak out. And so we're using it, and hallelujah. This is called Justice Jam Jingle. Violence, stealing, homelessness too. So many problems, what are we gonna do? One answer says we need to organize. Time to take action and not compromise. Speak out your experience. Let folks know just how hard a road poverty is to hoe. Businesses closing, evictions on the rise. Hospital rejection could cause your demise. Time to speak up and say it loud. No more excuses, and it won't be allowed. There's been poverty forever, we're being told. Well, that type of thinking has become very old. Stand up for your rights. You may end up dead. Let your light shine and be bright instead. I've said all I can, and we all know the truth. So it's time for action and not being aloof.
Yes. That's right, my man. You tell them. So let's sing our refrain one more time. Somebody's hurting our brother, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore.
I'd like to thank all of our testifiers who came up and told their stories.
Yes.
I know it's not easy to do, and it's very brave of you to share something so personal with all of us, but we really appreciate that you have. Now we're going to have Reverend Kimberly Debus from Cedarhurst Unitarian Universalist come and say a prayer for us.
Let us center ourselves and assume a position of prayer and meditation. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, known in many ways and beyond our knowing. We have gathered together as people of many faiths and none, yet all of us siblings and neighbors, a human rainbow united by our shared faith in the ideals of justice, democracy, community, and the common good. We speak out today, and it is hard, and so we ask for continued strength in the face of indifference, divisiveness, and narrow self-interest. Help us to find hope when hope is hard to find. When we forget that the struggle is a movement, not a moment. When we wonder whether we'll ever reach the promised land of beloved community. When we cry out in despair and frustration, how long, O Lord, how long? Help us carry into our work the knowledge that the moral arc of the universe is long, but that it bends toward justice. And remind us that ours are the hands that bend that arc. Ours are the hands that must do the holy work of fighting poverty, food scarcity, homelessness, and lack of health care. We are the ones who comfort the sick and lift up the poor. We are the ones who challenge traditions to bring about justice. Strengthen our resolve to live out our faith as doers of good works. Fill us with the Spirit, which will give us both courage and strength to move out into the world and make a difference. Grant us, we pray, the strength and courage to continue speaking out against injustice, discrimination, and oppression, to reclaim in this day and this time the mantle of the prophets who throughout the ages have spoken truth to power and called those with power and privilege to honor, respect, protect, and care for the least among us, the poor, the unhoused, the hungry, the sick, the broken, the forgotten, the strangers in our land. Grant us, too, wisdom and humility that we might speak our truth in love, remembering that hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Spirit of life and love, send us with strength and endurance. Help us to give our all to this and hold nothing back, for precious lives depend on it. We will be imperfect. Rest assured, we will mess up over and over again, but we must do it again anyway. May we summon the courage to tear down the system of injustice and get busy creating a world community with justice for all. Bless our work. Bless everyone. May it be so. Let the people, these righteous people here, say amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Miss Kimberly. So now we have Kelly up again. Come on, Kelly. She's going to do some call and response to close us out.
Hope you're not getting tired of hearing my voice. So, well, we just heard some pretty powerful testimonies, and I am so deeply proud of and admire the strength and courage it took for each of you to get up and share from your hearts. Wow. How did that make you all feel, listening to those testimonies? Angry? Yeah. Who's feeling upset by this unnecessary suffering in the one of the richest states and the richest nation in the world? Anybody? Yeah. So what are we going to do about it?
Organize.
That's right. Like our mentor and teacher Willie Baptist says, we only get what we're organized to take. So we got to organize. Now let's give it up again one more time for everyone who was brave enough to get up here and share their stories with us. They showed a lot of leadership by doing that, and I know some of them might not think of themselves as leaders, but you are, and you are growing in your leadership each and every day. Every one of us has the potential to lead, and as we say in United Workers, we're leading as we learn, and we're learning as we lead, right? We're all learning from each other as we go. We gain strength from each other as we go. We're trying to build a movement here, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not if I go out on my own, beating my chest and yelling at the powers that be, I'm not going to get very far. But together, we can build power together.
Yes.
And that's the power it's going to take for us to make change, right?
That's right.
That's right. So what do we want?
Organize.
We want to organize. When?
Now.
That's right. So, I know that many of us here have Right to Health stories that we could share, and I hope we've been inspired by the ones who shared today to think about how and when we might tell our own stories. We've got your back. We will do everything we can to support you as you're taking that brave step to share your story. If you feel like you might be ready to do that, or you're ready to start to try to do that, we want you to reach out to one of the folks on our media team. That would be Ailitha over here. That would be Nadia here. Anybody else here that's on the media team? Brandy. So there are folks here, and if you're not sure who those folks are, reach out to anybody who has on one of these T-shirts with Mama Harriet Tubman's picture on it, and we'll help connect you. We also invite you to follow United Workers on our public Facebook page and to share. Today we are live streaming on our Facebook page, and then a recording will be posted from today. So you can, if you're on Facebook, go on Facebook, react to the videos that were there, share them out to your friends and family, and help us spread the word. There was a lot of great content in today's presentation that outlines why we have a Right to Health campaign and why it's so vital. We also urge you, if you're not already connected to your regional team here in United Workers, here we call ourselves Central West because we hope to spread into Frederick County one day, but right now we're Carroll County. So we need all the leaders we can get to make our work successful, to spread the load out and share in this important work. We know that movements begin with work like what we did here together today, the telling of untold stories, making the invisible visible, by breaking our isolation and getting together and getting organized. But it doesn't end here. It's going to be a long fight. We're just getting started, and we need many, many leaders from across the state, people of every race, every gender, every faith, every creed, every ethnicity, every orientation, every identity to help us. So who's ready to organize?
We
We
are.
Who?
We
All
are.
right, let's do it. We're going to get ready to spread the Right to Health campaign all across this great state of Maryland.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. And we're going to close with one last song, because you know me, I got to always have another song. So there's some song sheets if you need them on the table behind Leo over there. But we're just going to sing, whoops, I'm not going to fall in the bushes. We're going to sing a couple verses of We're Getting Into Step, because that's where we are with our campaign. We're really at the beginning stages, and we're just getting into step. I don't know how I can clap with a microphone in my hands.
We got you.
Ashley, come stand by me, please, so you can do the clap part, 'cause you know you're doing it. Hey, Father Ty's in the house. Okay. Come on. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. All right, you're going to do the clap for me. You ready?
Okay.
So it's like this. We're getting into step. We're getting into step. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Let's do that again. We're getting into step. We're getting into step. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Too many years we've been divided. Now's the time to unify. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Here we go again. We're getting into step. We're getting into step. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Healthcare costs are on the rise. Communities we organize. We're getting into step to win our freedom. We're getting into step. We're getting into step. We're getting into step to win our freedom. People thrown out of their homes. The homeless union daily grows. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Now let me hear everybody this last time. We're getting into step. We're getting into step. We're getting into step to win our freedom. Too many years we've been divided. Now's the time to unify. We're getting into step to win our freedom. We're getting into step to win our freedom.